Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today what we are going to be going over is the 2024 presidential primaries. And we are going to be going over basically if Kamala Harris were to be the kind of incumbent incoming party nominee, she would be elected vice president pretty handedly in the 2020 election. I think that, as of September 22nd, 2020, it is becoming more and more likely that Joe Biden is going to become, the president of the United States. He's going to win the 2020 election. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. However, it's seeming that that's going to be the outcome as of this moment. However, Kamala Harris is definitely more of an establishment type Democrat. She may have some more progressive policies, especially compared to Joe Biden. However, she is definitely not a vice president that the left is necessarily happy with. And I could definitely see Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a rising party leader for the left movement, actually challenging her in 2024. And I also think that, with Kamala Harris becoming VP, I think that AOC would probably run for Senate in 2022. So whether she would be challenging Chuck Schumer in a primary challenge, or she would actually just run for an open seat, because Chuck Schumer has been, in the Senate for quite a while. I don't think that he would retire immediately after possibly taking over the Senate and becoming the majority leader. However, in this day and age, a lot of outcomes are possible. So, for this type of kind of map, I'm not going to go like super in depth with like delegates or like percentages. I'm just going to have it as a winner take all for each individual state. So, coming to the state of Iowa, Bernie Sanders won the popular vote here. Pete Buttigieg won the state delegate equivalent back in 2020 for the Democratic presidential primaries. And it was very close also back in 2016. And I think that, it's probably going to be pretty close this time around. I do see AOC actually winning Iowa, though, along with the state of New Hampshire. Iowa and New Hampshire were definitely states that Kamala Harris did not focus on a lot in 2020 in the presidential primaries, as she was not polling super great here. And I definitely do not think that she would win these states. The state of Nevada, very close to California, Kamala Harris's home state. It's going to be probably one of the closest races. However, I could see AOC winning, especially because she is Latina, and her winning the Hispanic vote, especially all across the United States, would definitely help push her over the edge in the state. And then following that, I think Kamala Harris would win South Carolina by a pretty substantial margin as well. Joe Biden, by winning the state of South Carolina, despite losing Nevada, Iowa, and New Hampshire, Bernie Sanders won the popular vote in all three of those states. However, he only won about 25% of the popular vote at the end of the 2020 presidential election, with Joe Biden receiving over 50%. And you might seem, well, in the four early states, Biden only won one of them. And he wasn't even close in Iowa or New Hampshire or Nevada. But the fact is, South Carolina really did help propel Joe Biden in actually securing the 2020 nomination, and could definitely help Kamala Harris in a similar way. However, moving into the Super Tuesday states, I think that both candidates would equally do pretty well. I think that Kamala Harris would win in the state of Texas, probably pretty close. I'm guessing maybe 55-45 or even closer than that for Kamala Harris. I could also see Kamala Harris winning Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, all of the southern states with a heavy black population. I could definitely see Kamala Harris appealing to black voters, despite the fact that in 2020 she definitely did not. But I could definitely see, her doing criminal justice reform, or, keeping up with her promises on the campaign trail if she actually were to deliver. she definitely could potentially win some of these voters. The state of North Carolina, again, I think it's going to be pretty close. Probably going to go to Kamala Harris at the end of the day. Now for a couple of AOC states. I think the state of Utah, handedly would go to AOC. Pretty progressive state, went to Bernie Sanders, probably going to go again. Along with the state of Colorado, a heavy Hispanic population here, probably going to go to AOC. Oklahoma, I think it was pretty close back in 2020. I think Biden won it, if I stand corrected. It was pretty close, I think, though. So, again, I think AOC is probably going to win it. I think they did vote to expand Medicaid or Medicare in the state of Oklahoma with support from Senator Sanders. So I definitely think that that kind of belief could definitely expand onto the whole state of Oklahoma. The state of Minnesota, I also think AOC would win the state of Minnesota, a state that, Joe Biden won in 2020, mainly due to the fact that Amy Klobuchar dropped out, along with Pete Buttigieg, and a lot of those Midwestern type people or candidates who would have really taken away from his vote in, Minnesota. However, I think that definitely AOC could appeal to the more working class voters in Minnesota. The state of Massachusetts, I think, could go to AOC. Did go to Joe Biden in 2020, pretty unexpectedly. However, I definitely see a lot of support here in Massachusetts. I currently live in the state of Massachusetts, and I definitely see kind of the beginnings of a progressive movement here. We had a lot of progressive challengers in all across our state in 2020. They didn't win, not really. However, I definitely can see them building up enough infrastructure to kind of take on the establishment type candidates like Kamala Harris. The state of Maine, I also think, would go to AOC, along with the state of Vermont. Again, pretty progressive states. Maine did go to Joe Biden, very, very narrowly, though. However, I definitely can see AOC appealing to the voters in those states. Of the Super Tuesday states, Virginia, I think, would also go to Kamala Harris. Again, I think the black support in the state of Virginia would really go to Kamala Harris. Again, pretty close, probably, maybe closer, like maybe 53 for Harris, 47 for AOC. But again, still going to Harris. Next up is going to be the state of California. So I think this is probably going to be one of the closest states to actually watch, as again, this is the biggest prize in the entire United States. Bernie did not win it in 2016. It was pretty close, though. However, in 2020, despite Joe Biden outperforming nationwide on the Super Tuesday states, Bernie actually flipped it to his column, and it shows on how California is an increasingly more democratic state, which has been definitely an epicenter for the progressive movement. However, I think that Kamala Harris's favorability in the state of California, I know that she wasn't polling too well in the 2020 primaries. I could definitely see her very narrowly etching out a win in the state of California. So that definitely brings her into a huge lead, considering that, this is just a winner-take-all system. However, for American Samoa and Democrats abroad, I can see AOC definitely winning in those states. I'm not too entirely sure on how the rest of the states actually are supposed to go. They kind of got all messed up in my head due to, COVID actually trying to change all the dates and then all of them getting pushed back. But the state of Michigan, I think, would go to AOC as well. I think that it would be pretty close, maybe 53 for AOC, 47 for Kamala Harris. However, I do see AOC having the same appeal in Michigan and in Minnesota, along with in the state of Wisconsin. I definitely could see her narrowly etching out a win in that state as well. In the state of North Dakota, sorry, I could definitely see her winning in the state of North Dakota. A state that Bernie actually won in 2020 as well. I could also see her winning in the state of Idaho. Idaho is a very progressive state. Biden won it, but I definitely could see her winning in the state again. Illinois, again, probably pretty close. I could see Harris actually etching out a win here. Washington, I could see AOC winning in here, along with the state of Oregon. Oregon, probably, again, one of the closest states. However, I don't think that Harris is going to have enough appeal to, especially the Portland voters. Oregon is a state that is pretty white and actually pretty progressive if you actually look at some of the candidates that they have there. So I think that AOC could narrowly etch out a win here. Next, we're going to do the states of Arizona and New Mexico. I think that this would be another flip for AOC. I think that she would definitely turn out Hispanic voters and expand on Bernie Sanders' lead, which was already incredibly high in the 2020 Democratic primaries. Next up, I'm going to go to the state of Alaska. I think AOC would also win the state of Alaska. Bernie, actually doing pretty well even after he dropped out in the state of Alaska. I think it was like 55 to 45 in the state of Alaska. He could probably do pretty well in that state. In the state of Montana, Wyoming, and Nebraska and Kansas, I could see all of them going to AOC as well. These are states that are in the middle of the country, not too much Democratic infrastructure. However, with, the kind of general idea that Kamala Harris would kind of be riding on Joe Biden's coattails might give her maybe a chance at these states. However, they were proven in 2016 to be pretty solidly Democratic states for Joe Biden, even without Joe Biden actually having to spend any money there. However, I could definitely see AOC actually playing for these states and winning them at the end of the day. When it comes to Louisiana, I could see Louisiana going for VP Harris, along with the state of Georgia and Tennessee. Again, they have pretty heavy black populations, especially in Memphis, Tennessee, and Nashville. Definitely could go there. Georgia, not known for really liking progressives too much. They don't really have too many progressive insurgents in the state of Georgia. And I think that Stacey Abrams actually probably endorsing Kamala Harris over AOC could be the most likely scenario here. In the state of Missouri, I also think that this state would go to Senator Harris. This is a state that, again, was pretty close in 2016. However, I think it would narrowly go to Harris, along with the state of South Dakota, a state which, in the middle of a region heavily going for AOC, might seem a little peculiar. However, it is a state that tends to vote for establishment type candidates. Next, we are going to go to the rest of the Eastern Board of the United States. I think that the District of Columbia would go to VP Harris. They are known for trying to keep in their candidates that they actually like a lot. When it comes to the state of Maryland, I also think that Senator Harris would win in the state of Maryland, along with Delaware and Kentucky. Actually, I'm not going to classify Kentucky for Harris. I'm actually going to classify it for AOC. Hillary Clinton won the state of Kentucky pretty handedly. Joe Biden did pretty handedly, but, he was the only candidate actually running at that point. But, Kentucky I could definitely see taking a more progressive turn in 2024. They do have a Democratic governor who is not progressive whatsoever. He would probably endorse Harris, if anything. But, Charles Booker almost winning the Democratic nomination against someone who outspent him, by significant margins is definitely pretty prevalent, showing how Kentucky voters are actually more invested in the progressive movement than, establishment propaganda. So I could see AOC actually etching out the states along with West Virginia, Ohio, and Indiana. I think that she could do pretty well in these states. When it comes to her own home state of New York, I could see her winning it. And effectively, that puts her into play again. Kamala has had a lead this entire time, and with the state of New York, it could definitely put her in play. With the state of Hawaii, I could see AOC winning it. It's a pretty solidly progressive state that I could see her winning again. When it comes to Connecticut and Rhode Island, again, pretty progressive states. Was pretty close back in 2016. However, I don't see Harris actually having a similar appeal that she was able to do previously. I could see AOC winning the state of New Jersey. Again, I think the heavy Latino population in the state of New Jersey would definitely put her over the edge in this state. I also think that Guam would go for AOC. However, the Northern and Mariana Islands and the Virgin Islands would go to VP Harris. However, Puerto Rico would go to AOC. AOC actually having roots in Puerto Rico and, making a strong campaign for there. Carmen Yulitz Cruz, I believe that's how you say her name, the mayor of San Juan, Puerto Rico. Her endorsement would probably mean quite a bit in this race. Senator Harris would probably also win the state of Florida. I definitely think that it would be pretty close. I think AOC would definitely appeal to the Hispanics here. I think Cubans, even if they were to be Democrats, I don't see them really going for AOC. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for her to actually try and win them back over. And in the state of Pennsylvania, again, this is a very difficult state to kind of predict. I'm just going to give it to AOC, though. Mainly because I think that the white working class voters here would go more for AOC than it would for Kamala Harris. I think Kamala Harris is more for the white suburbanite women and the black voters. And I think that they are still prevalent in the state of Pennsylvania. However, I think that AOC and her appeals would actually do pretty well in the state. Now we are just the only thing that we have left is the superdelegates. I'm going to award Kamala Harris about 60% of them, and then AOC the rest, because I think that AOC would definitely not win superdelegates. They're kind of designed in order to kind of favor the more establishment type candidate. However, even with AOC only receiving 40%, it would effectively give her the Democratic nomination. This would be a super close nomination, only decided by about 100 delegates. And if delegates were to actually rebel at the DNC going against, AOC or Kamala Harris, we could have a very different result. So, if the election were to be held today, in many of these states between Kamala Harris or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and for the Democratic nomination for president in 2024. I think that AOC would very narrowly edge out a win. However, it is going to be an extremely close race that could definitely flip sides through either part of the campaign. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Leave me suggestions down in the comments below, and thank you.